This is how I take one piece of content and turn it into 50, yes, 50 other pieces of content each and every week. And in case you're new here, my name is Amber Figlow and I am a content strategist, and I specialize in helping small business owners create content more consistently and more effectively through strategies and systems and workflows. And most importantly, organization. So yeah, what I just said was entirely true. I create over 50 pieces of content across social media and marketing platforms each and every week. But I do have one small caveat before we dive into this video and I talk about my process that you really need to hear. You do not have to create this much content, especially if you're just starting out. I'm a content strategist, and this is my job, and I've also been in content marketing for over a decade now. But what I want you to get out of this video is the foundation of my entire content strategy, and take what you need from this, depending upon the platforms you show up on, the marketing channels that you have, and start to implement this kind of routine, even if it doesn't mean creating 50 pieces. Maybe it means just taking one piece of content and transforming it into 5 others. Because the overall goal of this video is to help you create content more effectively, efficiently, create more of it without a ton of extra time and effort. So, getting right into it. 50 pieces of content. What we have to start with here is something known as hero content. You may have heard of it as macro content, long form content, whatever it is. It is a piece of content that is bigger or longer in nature. There are quite a few different options here when it comes to creating this hero piece of content. For me, it's YouTube videos. For you, it could be a podcast, it could be a newsletter, it could be a blog post. But what I want you to think about as you are deciding what type of long form content you want to create, the key here to the hero content is that it needs to be obviously long form in nature, but also searchable so that it is not relying on some short-lived algorithm. And this is key in making this strategy sustainable and effective over the long run, and you're not going to get burnt out, and your content is going to work harder for you months and potentially even years to come. And for me, I've chosen YouTube because I create more confidently when I'm on video, and I also find it way easier for me to repurpose. I can take clips of things that I'm saying. I can rip the audio and also put it out as a podcast. We're going to dive into all of that in just a second here. I personally just like YouTube for a lot of different reasons. It's also the easiest type of content for me to create in my niche of social media because I'm able to visually demonstrate certain things if the video needs it. People can also start to understand how I talk, how I speak, how I educate others. And this also helps with other aspects of my business, like my public speaking. Whereas starting with a podcast or a blog post, I'm not able to leverage those things. But you pick what's best for you. Lean into your strengths, lean into what your audience wants, and find that happy piece of hero content that you actually enjoy creating. But here's how I break down each and every YouTube video into those 50 other pieces of content. Okay, so piece of content number 1 is obviously the YouTube video in and of itself, but I will pull the audio straight from that YouTube video. We put an intro and an outro and put it out in the podcast. Sometimes it requires a little bit extra editing, especially for parts like, let's say in my YouTube video, I have a screen share. Obviously, that's not going to translate to audio, so we'll remove that from the podcast portion. But that's one piece of content. And then with traditional podcasts, you like to have something called show notes. Well, I've decided to kind of combine that with a blog post so that it's highly educational, searchable. If somebody needs more information about that podcast, they can go to my show notes. So I like to create one additional blog post show note combination on my website so that I'm tapping into SEO, things like that. So again, that's another piece of content. And then inside of the tool that we use to edit my YouTube videos, it's something called Descript. You can edit your YouTube videos like a Word document. I can also have an entire transcript of every single thing I'm saying inside of that YouTube video, which serves as the foundation to help me repurpose it. So I'll take that transcript along with my YouTube video outline and create at least one newsletter blast. And with this newsletter, this email that I'm sending out to all of my subscribers, I like to give them enough information so that they can read the email and find value in it. And then at the end, I have a call to action to go watch the YouTube video, to go listen to the podcast. But again, one more piece of content. So I'm taking that YouTube video and transforming it into those other long form pieces of content, which I absolutely love doing because it gives people the ability to consume that long form content in a way that's best for them. Maybe they want to read it, maybe they want to listen to it, or maybe they want to watch it. But now getting into how I start to break this down into smaller pieces of content for multiple different social media platforms. I can take this YouTube video and turn it into at least bare minimum 5 Instagram posts. I like to have one reel that promotes the video itself, really encouraging people to go watch it on YouTube, We create one carousel with all the information that's relevant inside that video so that people, again, can just get the gist of it without having to watch the entire thing. And then the last 3 posts, sometimes it might be a quote, it might be a graphic, it might be another short form clip that we decide to take from the video. And sometimes I do like to create more than 5 Instagram posts, and sometimes I like to jump on trends. Bare minimum though, I'm creating 5 different Instagram posts based off of that main YouTube video. Sometimes it's more. I like to create in the moment reels that might follow a trend, or I use it as a foundation for a story sequence on Instagram stories, but just know that that's a bare minimum of an additional 5 pieces of content. From there, I create 5 different LinkedIn posts using the same content in the YouTube video, or kind of repurposing what I've put out on Instagram. Sometimes we'll take the Instagram carousel itself, tweak a couple things, and download it as a PDF. Upload that as a document to LinkedIn, and that's a post right there. Ultimately, though, we're repurposing a lot of content from that YouTube video, from those Instagram posts, to create 5 different LinkedIn posts. Similarly, we do the same thing for shorts, for at least 5 different YouTube shorts. And this is where I like to switch things up. For TikTok specifically, again, I do like to get at least 5 different videos, so I'm posting Monday through Friday. But rather than pull clips from the YouTube video, I will simply re-record something I said in that video that I think is relevant, and I'll re-record it with my iPhone natively in TikTok. And there's a reason why. Over the last year, I experimented with TikTok, just pulling clips directly from the YouTube video and pushing them out as TikToks. They did not perform as highly. My audience didn't resonate with them as well. So I actually take the time to create additional TikTok videos that, again, we'll repurpose on other places. But just know that from that YouTube video, I'm pulling different pieces of content and using it as a way to produce those TikTok videos. From there, we'll take the transcript that we exported from Descript, and I will use it to create at least 10 thread posts. You can also use these for tweets, but I like to have some written content, different quotes that I said, different thoughts that I had throughout the YouTube video, and again, put out 10 different thread posts. And the last chunk of content is actually going to be 15 different Pinterest pins. And this is something new that I introduced this year. I had gotten off of Pinterest for quite some time, just didn't think of it as a priority in my business, and it's something that I'm experimenting with again this year. Sometimes it's repurposed content or directing people back exactly to this YouTube video. Either way, I really want to start to expand on the SEO capabilities of my content, and Pinterest is a great way to do that. So there's 15 pins. When you total up just this bare minimum of content that I create each week from that one YouTube video, I get 48 pieces of content. And if we count the YouTube video itself, that's 49 pieces of content. There are certain weeks when I do actually like to create more in the moment type of stuff, whether it be Instagram stories, jumping on trends for both TikTok and Reels, or if there's some big important news or change in the social media industry. Sometimes I'll create additional in the moment type of content, or if my energy levels are high, I'll create a lot more Instagram stories. It's not always a priority for me, which can sometimes put that total over 50 pieces of content. But I know that bare minimum, I can take the YouTube video and create at least those 49 pieces. Okay, now that we've run through all of the content that I like to create, I want to kind of walk you through how I do it. First, again, I always have to lead with caveats because I don't want you to have crazy expectations on yourself, especially if you're newer to this content creation and content repurposing journey. I have over a decade's worth of experience in the content marketing industry in creating content itself. So I've been doing this for a while. I know the ins and outs of content creation. I have the knowledge and the skill set and experience to be able to crank out this much content in a relatively short amount of time. And while I have this decade's worth of experience, I actually like to lean into tools and different resources to make this even easier. I am not opposed to using a software or a tool or some kind of process to shorten that time. Just because I spend more time on content doesn't always mean it's going to be better. So listen, if I can get some time back in my day, I'm more than happy to do that. And speaking of time, this is exactly how I go about creating that content and the amount of time that it takes me. I batch record my videos one time a month for the following month. So at a given time, I have one video content creation day where I'm sitting down and creating those initial YouTube videos. I do that at least once a month, and I'm creating between 4 and 5 videos for the following month. Because listen, I don't have time to do my hair and makeup every single day, sit down, set up my equipment. I have a bunch of crazy lighting now. I want to maximize my time and efficiency. And let's be honest, once I'm in YouTube video mode, I can keep talking and talking and talking. But getting over that hurdle each and every week is just, it's not how my brain works. It's not the best use of my time. So I like to sit down and batch create all of those videos all at once. Now, each and every week, I have my content manager, whatever video is going out the next week, she is editing that YouTube video for me. And now, again, I'm all about leaning into time and resources and even outsourcing. I could go and edit my YouTube videos, but she's way better at it. She's way more efficient at it. And it just takes that kind of thing off my plate. And that is one thing I don't mind outsourcing. But just know, if I had to sit down and edit the YouTube video, I would think it would probably take me about 2 hours. But now, since I am at that point in my career that I do have the privilege of being able to outsource that, I now have time to dedicate to repurposing that content. Basically, what this looks like is once she is done editing the video, I sit down basically every single Wednesday and I can create all of that content, all 50 pieces from that one YouTube video in about 4 hours. Now, I've really nailed down this process and it has taken me a long time to be able to get all that content done in about 4 hours. I've set up systems and tools, and we're going to get into that in just a second. But again, just know if it's taking you a little bit more time, that's totally okay. You have to build the skill set in order to do this more effectively and efficiently. So there are 3 main tools that kind of help me create all of this content in that 4-hour time period on Wednesday. So number 1, I already mentioned Descript. It is the way that I actually sit down and record my YouTube videos. I stream it all into the program. I don't need memory cards. Like, it's just so efficient for me. It is recorded and stored all inside of Descript, and we edit inside of Descript as well. It is a program that allows me to strip that audio for the podcast. We can take clips of things that I said in the video. We can take clips of the video itself and really start to chop it up for social media. Again, all inside of Descript. And arguably the best part is I get a transcript that I can then take it and use it to create all those other pieces of content. Program number 2 that I absolutely could not live without is Canva. That's how I create all the visual aspects of my content that accompanies all of those different pieces that I mentioned. And I highly recommend that you sit down and have some time with Canva by uploading your brand kit, organizing and putting things into folders. Creating a system and brand templates that you can use on repeat is what's going to help simplify your content creation process. And now I can go into Canva so easily. I can access a design that I need. I have certain like carousel templates set up for Instagram, and all I got to do is copy and paste stuff over from that transcript, that YouTube transcript that I got from Descript, copy and paste it over and create a carousel in just a couple of minutes. My content manager will also help me as she's editing the YouTube video. She'll formulate other content ideas that I can easily transform into quick pieces of visual content. Any additional content that I want to record on my phone, I make sure I store it inside of Canva to make this process even more efficient. And the last tool that I tap into is actually ChatGPT. Now, before you go crazy, there are some things that I need to mention here. I've been using AI in my content creation process over the last 6 months, and I've tested so many different tools. I have a video coming out about that very, very soon. And I've learned a lot of different things along the way. Especially the biggest thing that I have learned with using AI tools in content creation is that you need to give it human input in order to get a better output. You don't want to run to ChatGPT and say, hey, come up with an Instagram post for me. Instead, what I like to do is I've created actually a custom GPT for my business, for my process and my strategy. And I do have the paid version of ChatGPT. So that way I can take that YouTube video transcript, which is full of my thoughts, my ideas, my words. I upload that into ChatGPT. And from there, I can prompt the AI tool to say, hey, can you pull out 10 different quotes that I can put out on threads, or maybe you can help me optimize my YouTube description. I use the tool as a way to help me save time in the content creation process, even though those are still my thoughts, my ideas, and my experience. Of course, the output always needs refining, and I always read through it and double check its work. But it is one of the things that has allowed me to take that content creation day from like 8 hours down to 4 hours. Now that we've talked about the tools that I use to create, I want to talk to you about implementation and distribution of all this content, because 50 pieces of content it's a lot. And creating all of this content is great. And even if you get into the system and flow of doing something similar, if that content doesn't get posted, it was wasted effort. It was wasted time. So there are 2 other tools that I like to lean into to make sure I'm keeping all of this content organized and making sure all of this content gets published. I use a system that I've developed inside of Airtable to help me manage the workflow of how all of this content comes together. We can see the status, we can see the visual, we can see the caption, we can see everything that we need at a glance inside of Airtable when it's going to be published, when it's going out, is it complete? Is it missing pieces? So that's how I manage all of this content together. And then my content manager helps me take that content, all the content we've created, all 50 pieces. We take it from Airtable and we make sure that it gets put into a tool called Later, which helps me schedule all of that content and get that content posted. I am a huge believer in scheduling and auto-publishing your content when it's available. No, it's not going to decrease your reach. No, it's not going to impact how your content performs. It is simply a tool that you need to lean into as a small business owner so that you can have your time back. I will say this right now. There is no way that I could create and distribute this much content and still have a business. I couldn't do it without a scheduling tool because it would take literally all of my time every single day to produce and create and publish this much content. So I lean into a tool like Later. There are so many other great ones out there as well, to make sure I am auto-publishing as much content as I can, meaning that later the platform will take whatever input I give it and push it out on the platform I tell it to push it out to. And I'll use this tool to get out Instagram posts, LinkedIn posts, Pinterest pins, and so much more, so that I am only manually publishing a few different things. I am manually publishing 2 to 3 different Threads posts per day because scheduling it just isn't available yet. If it becomes available, I will be using it. I actually prefer to manually publish my TikToks, even though they're already planned out, and same with Threads, they're already planned out. I like to manually publish on TikTok because there are just so many options that I can select on the platform itself that aren't available inside of Later. Things like if I want to add music or change out the cover or so many other little customizations, especially with some of TikTok's newer features with being able to create carousels and photos and horizontal videos. So for me, in the mornings, I like to just go ahead and post my TikToks, and that's a bit more advantageous because I have more flexibility in how it gets posted. So I will still do that manually. And for me, stories, I create in the moment when I have the energy and when I have the free time. I am not a huge fan of pre-planning stories. I've just noticed for my particular audience and for my niche and platform, pre-planning stories is just not the best idea. It does feel a bit more genuine when I'm creating them in the moment. So I know this is a lot of information, and I know 50 pieces of content a week feels very, very overwhelming. By all means, I want you to start small. Start by taking that long form piece of content and just creating one additional piece of content to complement it or to go out on another platform. And then slowly work your way up to more and more pieces of content. I promise you, once you kind of try this process, you're going to fall in love with it. But if you're really wanting to take this to the next level and learn my exact step-by-step process and also have access to my custom GPT that has my strategy and my thoughts and 10 years worth of experience in it, you'll want to check out my signature program, The Content System, at the link in the description below. I only open doors a couple of times a year, but make sure you join the waitlist and you'll be the first to know when doors are open again. And that's all I've got for you today. I know that was a lot and I know it was overwhelming, but just know that you can start this content creation journey just one step at a time. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next week.